Welcome to a brand new series, Vantage Point, first of its kind investment talk show in Sri Lanka.
Every other Sunday on Radio Sri Lanka from 10 to 11 a.m.
A review of global and local economic situation, capital markets and selected stocks.
Speaker Chamikara Gunawardena, founder Investor I Private Limited.
Sponsored by Investor I Private Limited. If you are looking for investing through research, don't miss your Vantage Point.
Every other Sunday on Radio Sri Lanka from 10 to 11 a.m.
Right here on Radio Sri Lanka. Welcome to this week's edition of the Vantage Point with Chamikara Gunawardena, founder of Investor I Private Limited, Sri Lanka's first independent and bilingual investment research provider, creating awareness of investment options and to disseminate investment knowledge among the general public. Now, this program also helps to gain valuable information both from the English as well as the singular programs, broadcast every other Sunday between 10 and 11, and tailor-made for professionals, academics, businessmen and students learning the subject between O-level and university level and graduates as well. Welcome, Mr. Chamikara Gunawardena, to yet another presentation of the Vantage Point. Lots of people are listening to this program. I was at a visitor's place the other day and they were quite encouraged by the knowledge that you have given on this program series, and they were listening even the week before last, and so they were very thankful to you. Right, first things first, I thought it would be a good thing to recap what we have already gone through in the previous week. This is the fourth edition, I guess. Yes. And you may recap some of the salient points that we have discussed so that they can refresh their minds and be ready to connect whatever has gone on with today's subject.
Absolutely, Nihal. In the first program, we discussed about the myths, the common myths, which are being circulated in the stock market in Sri Lanka. And with that, of course, Professor Disa Bandara, with the Director General of Securities and Exchange Commission, also participated, and he contributed on how important independent investment research to Sri Lanka's capital market. And in the second program, we went on to discuss the factors which are affecting the performance of Sri Lanka's stock market, mainly the micro and the macro factors. And in the third program, which was the last one, we discussed about the steps an investor should take when going about investing in Sri Lanka's stock market. And also the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, also participated, and he gave his thoughts on how Sri Lanka's government has successfully managed the monetary policy aspect in the overall economy.
I believe his input about how the capital market helps in the economic development of Sri Lanka, I believe that certainly would have encouraged most of our listeners.
Absolutely, yeah, yes.
Right, today's subject, we are going to discuss about what steps needed to be taken by an investor.
So if you are a person who is familiar and who's more comfortable in communicating and dealing in Sinhala language, then you may face certain difficulties if the broker you are signed with is a person who speaks only in English. I mean, well, he may sometimes, it may be because of his background, he prefers to speak to you in English. I mean, if you consider the stock market 5 to 10 years back, the stock market was dominated and largely confined to English-speaking community. Because of that, the stockbroking companies also gave emphasis to candidates, the staff who matched the Western type culture in the industry.
It was kind of Western oriented.
It was kind of Western oriented, yes. I mean, yes. To Sri Lanka, capital market and stock market was not that localized in other developed countries.
Yes.
I mean, I should thank the President, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa, and his government for creating an environment that helps even small and Sinhala-speaking investors. I mean, since recently, obviously the people who are familiar with the market might see that many broking companies have expanded across the island to cater to small-scale investors by setting up branches and also recruiting Sinhala-speaking investment advisors, which you may have not seen had you invested about 5 to 10 years back. Not only that, I mean, if I were to start InvestI, our organization, InvestI 10 years back, I don't think it would have been possible at that time. So it's not, I also need to thank the Finance Ministry, Central Bank, Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka, as well as government's media organizations like Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation and Rupani Corporation who have come forward to help me in this endeavor. And I must publicly thank all of these government institutions. Secondly, even if the broker and investor assigned with is single speaking and a small investor friendly person, a broker who is who likes small investors and who prefers to work with and who prefers to take transactions of the small investors, the investor may not clearly understand the advice given by the broker. I mean, this could be due to a couple of reasons. One is investor may be financially illiterate, meaning investor may not understand what the broker says, meaning he may not be educated enough to understand the financial data, financial information which are available in media and stock exchange and other sources. Or else the broker may not be able to give advice in a way understood by the investor also. So
is it because of a language problem or what?
Well, yeah, language problem is one thing. Yeah, other problem is maybe that broker does not understand the situation of the investor, the education level of the investor, so that he could cater the advice to suit him, to make him understand about what he says.
So unless he clearly understands what he's wanting, there can be a little problem.
Absolutely, there can be a little problem in terms of communication. There may be a miscommunication, misunderstanding of the message
without knowing the investor's mind.
Exactly. And the third issue an investor could face is that when the investor receives research reports by his or her broking firm. I mean, in our previous program, we said it is important that all investors, whether it is small or big, they need to seek research reports from the stockbroking firms before making an informed decision. So when the investor receives research report by his broking firm, he or she may not be able to understand the content of those research reports, because as I said, he may be financially illiterate, or he may not understand the jargon, the technical words that are being used in the research reports which are written by analysts, qualified analysts. So what happens is, even if these reports are not understood by the investors, stockbrokers who give those research reports generally do not have enough time to explain the research reports to their clients. So since the expectation is that as an investor, it is his or her responsibility to read and understand them. So what brokers usually believe is it is not their responsibility to explain all the contents in the research reports.
So in what way Mr. Gunawardena can simplify this?
Well, yes, I don't think they will have enough resources to simplify things. There are certain words, there are certain jargon an analyst you should use when they write research reports, because these reports are done by using many technical terms and aspects. So it becomes a difficulty for even broking firms to explain some of these things, especially to small scale investors who are not very sophisticated. Yeah, even if the investor is someone who can read and understand general English, he may not be able to understand the technical terms and capital market jargon written in investment research reports. So yeah, as Nihal said, it becomes a difficulty for the broking firms and also to the stock exchange as well as the regulator, Securities and Exchange Commission, how to make these reports read-worthy and readable for all investors in the country.
That should be the ultimate.
That should be the ultimate objective of the regulator as well as the operator, which is the SEC and CSC, Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as Colombo Stock Exchange. Lastly, and the fourth issue that I would like to discuss here is the fact that almost all financial related information available in the country are published in English language. So which include financial reports, financial statements published by the listed
Now, how and when could an investor get hold of these reports?
As I mentioned in our previous programs also, these research reports are published by many of the broking firms. So once you become a client of those broking firms, you have the right to seek those research reports. So you need to, if you are a person who has built a good relationship with the stockbroker, it doesn't have to be that case. If once you become a client of that organization, you are entitled to get those research reports. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you talk to them and get their research reports. Main way they distribute their research reports through email. So you have to give your email address to them. So they will include your email address in their email list, so that you will get the periodic research reports done by those broking firms.
And an investor need to very carefully study these reports as well once they get those reports.
Yes, as I just said, it is important that it's not just you browse through the research report. You should make sure you understand what is there in the report.
Now, in what other ways can an investor, before investing in the stock market, what other aspects does an investor have to keep in mind, besides what you have already discussed, Mr. Gunawardena?
Well, those are the main areas I have taken to discuss, because if you have to go about discussing other areas which are not so important, like the share price movements, the who buys what shares, whether there are high net worth individuals buying into shares, and whether there are foreign institutions buying into shares. There are large numbers of other small, little trivial factors that are affecting, but I don't think any investor could keep a track of all those factors. So these the factors that I discussed earlier are the key ones that an investor need to be mindful about.
I'll give the telephone number in case you have any comments to make, or maybe you want to have a question asked. You can dial this number 0777 534435. That's 0777 534435. You can call on this number on the day of the broadcast between 11 and 12. So make it a point to just make available this number whenever you have the time and the opportunity. Please dial this number for any information regarding this program, and I'm sure Mr. Gunawardena and his staff will be very happy to help. Also, the Investor I Private Limited is providing research and knowledge to investors, and so we're very thankful to Mr. Chamikara Gunawardena for his efforts through the national radio to share this valuable knowledge on this subject with our listeners. You can't get this in every other book, but once you hear it, I'm sure then you'll make a clean study of what is being said, and then you can face any challenge in the future. Am I right, Mr.?
Yes, the contents, the area that I am discussing in these programs are mainly through the experience I have got. So some of these you may be able to get through books and by reading newspapers and going through websites, but most of these things are through my experiences. So which I don't think there are experienced people who would like to share his or her thoughts, but that person needs to be able to verbalize his understanding, his knowledge on his expert areas. So I think I'm in a position to verbalize and make people understand the knowledge, the exposure, the experience I got through working in this industry for over a decade.
Now, tell us something more about this research analysis, Mr. Gunawardena. This is very, very important, and you have come forward to help in this cause. Research analysis, how important it is. I think we have discussed this, but it's well worth repeating for those who are tuning in for the first time, maybe. A little bit of what this research analysis is all about.
Yeah, it is for any investor, for him to make informed decisions with regard to investing in the stock market. It is important that he reads and understand, as we said, the research reports done by stockbroking firms. So currently, most of the research reports are done by the stockbroking firms in the Colombo Stock Exchange, and we are the only independent investment research provider. When we do research reports on behalf of our clients, we go through all the necessary key aspects of analyzing and studying the companies, the sectors and the economy before we give recommendations to our clients. So this is the same process even broker firms, research units go through, but you cannot say that they are independent research reports because they are obliged to serve their key clients, as any organization's priority or interest is making profits and bigger profits.
How can Investor Eye help in avoiding, we've already discussed this very briefly, avoiding the issues and pitfalls? Now you have come forward. How can you get over these situations?
Yes, Nihal. Now the reason why we establish Investor Eye firm, the organization, is mainly to solve the issues, address the issues that I just discussed. Number one, as I said, almost 70% of Sri Lankans are Sinhala speaking, Sinhala reading people. So whoever who wants to invest in the Sri Lanka stock market, whether it is Sinhala or English person or who is more conversant in Sinhala or English, can come to us. And if it is a person who is more comfortable in communicating in the Sinhala language, we have trained and qualified staff to communicate and serve his investment needs. And he or she also could get personalized advice in both the languages. So being a truly Sri Lankan organization, we are more than happy to serve Sinhala speaking and Sinhala reading investors through our Sinhala investment research and consulting services. So if someone calls us or speaks to us in Sinhala at the first point of interaction, we will be communicating with that person Sinhala continuously, because then we understand he is more comfortable in communicating with us, in dealing with us in the Sinhala language. Because this sometimes, what in my experience, having worked for a number of stockbroking companies in Sri Lanka in the research department, sometimes, my experience is most of the times, even if a Sinhala investor comes, Sinhala speaking investor comes, some of these brokers, some of these investment advisors tend to communicate in English. So that puts the client, the investor, in a bit of difficulty, bit of embarrassment, so that he may not come back to the broking company again.
I understand, Mr. Gunawardena, that your target audience is generally professionals, academics, businessmen, and even students between O-level and university level graduates. Now, what manner of businessmen are you looking for to advise?
Yes, Nihal. Our payoff line or the tagline is making investment research a matter of concern for all. So there is no specific target market for us. It is the entire Sri Lankan community, all Sri Lankan people we are targeting. So whoever who has an interest in Sri Lanka's economy and investments can benefit through our services. Even if you are a student, you may not be interested in investments, since you are not making money and you are not supposed to spend your money in commercial ways. You can still, since you have an interest in Sri Lanka's economy, because that is a subject for most of the students, if you are a commerce related or business related student, professionally or academically, you can still be benefited by subscribing to our research or reading our research, because we give a thorough and comprehensive analysis in a way that anybody can understand and get benefits from.
So how best can they get in touch with you? Can I give them your office number as well?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
The number to dial, this is during working hours. The number to dial is 0112 888 400. That's 0112 888 400. Now that's the number to call during normal office hours. But this number that I'm giving right now is the number to dial every other Sunday. Soon after this program, you can dial 0777 534435 to gain any information or any question that you may have in your mind and I'm sure Mr. Gunawardena and his staff will be able to answer them.
Let me continue, Nihal, on what I started, how InvestEye helps address the issues.
Yes, go ahead.
I discussed. So as a professional research organization, we have all the necessary resources such as systems, methods and trained and friendly staff to guide, educate and help in both Sinhala and English languages, even potential investors who are not financially literate. So all our educational programs which are designed to cater to the investor community in the country and also the investment consulting sessions are designed in a very simple and easily understandable manner for any type of investors. And our analysts and consultants will be at your service if you need further clarifications or information on the products and services we offer to you. And this will also be provided in both languages. And we will spend reasonable amount of time explaining necessary things and making our clients understand the contents of our research reports as well as our general investment advice for you. I mean, if you look at many of the publications in the stock market, they are published in English only, as I said. So singular reading investors, what they can do is they can subscribe to our single subscription research and consulting service. So the advantage of subscribing to our subscription service is that, whether it is single or English, once you subscribe to this, all our subscribers get comprehensive analytical updates, reports and notes on relevant developments related to Sri Lanka's economy and capital market every week. So therefore, our subscribers will not need to spend time and effort to select, read and digest plethora of financial and economic information which are available in newspapers and websites. So as Sri Lanka's first professional, independent and bilingual investment research provider, we spend our resources not only to select, read and digest the relevant important news and developments, but also to analyze them carefully and present them in a financially sensible form to all our subscribers. So in analyzing and presenting this numerous data and information, we go through an internally developed research framework and methodology, which is quite unique to our organization. In our research framework, we perform both a top-down and bottom-up approach, where a strong combination of macro and micro studies involved. In our methodology, this is further explained, and our analysis starts from a global economic analysis and ends up with a detailed company study. So when analyzing the global macro aspects, it is based more on secondary research, and when moving towards the micro aspects such as sectors and companies itself, we give more emphasis to primary research as well. So when conducting this primary research, we talk to or even meet relevant heads of the organizations. And to give a simple example, if you are doing a research report on Hatton National Bank, we may meet or speak to the Governor of Central Bank, Secretary of the Finance Ministry, Chairman and Directors of the bank itself, the Hatton National Bank, Chairman and the Directors of its competitor banks such as Bank of Ceylon, People's Bank, National Savings Banks from the public domain, and Chairman and Directors of commercial banks, Ceylon Bank and Sampath Bank from the private domain. We also constantly talk to high-level officials in the country, mainly because they are the type of people who could give us the quality, who would give us the type of insights we are looking to get with regard to the overall direction of the economy, the sectors and the companies we are studying and publishing reports on. So if it is a manufacturing organization, we may even meet the key clients, suppliers, distributors on top of the regulators and competitors that we are studying. So these are this is the way our organization is going to address key issues facing the investor, the general investor community in the country.
With your experience, Mr. Gunawardena, could you tell us very briefly whether by and large, is there a lack of investment knowledge among the public that needs to be focused? So is this the reason why you came forward to help these investors and to get along InvestEye?
Absolutely, Nihal. Definitely, there is a clear knowledge gap in Sri Lanka's capital market, because one is that, as I said, the reports provided by the broking firms which were the only ones we had all this time until we came in.
That's very encouraging news, Mr. Gunawardena. I'm sure prospective investors will look forward to your help and guidance before they can start investing. And I'll give two numbers for investors, prospective investors, to get in touch with you. During office hours, the number to dial is 0112 888 400. That's 0112 888 400. And this number you can dial soon after this program every other Sunday between 11 and 12, 0777 534435. That's 0777 534435. Right now, what could an investor look for when choosing a broker? There are some things that he needs to acquire before looking for a good broker.
Yes, Nilal, as we discussed in our previous programs, it is a must that all investors open an account with a broker and they have to do their transactions through a stockbroking company. So the best and most practical way to choose a broker is to get referrals. So you can find out from other people about the broker they use and why they have selected them. And also it is better to choose someone whom you have heard good things about. So let me share some tips from the experience I had when I was working for around 4 broking firms in the country. I feel it is not, especially if you are a novice investor, you should not choose the biggest in the country. Choose the largest stockbroking firm. My experience is that some brokers are more geared for frequent traders and professionals, and there are others that are geared more for beginners, novice investors. So for most beginners, it is much better to go with beginner friendly kind of brokers. So high professional stockbrokers will have a long list of high flying investors. So while they'll be busy attending their high profile investors, you may not get the personal attention and advice that a new investor needs. So it is always, if you are a novice investor, it is always select some broking company which may be small in their operations, small scale in their operations, but who may have branches across the country. I don't think it is suitable for me to name few broking firms here, because then there may be a clash, because it is not professional for me to mention few brokers, leaving aside other broking companies. And also it is important for the investors to select a person who is client friendly, or a person who understands your preferences, your likes and your dislikes, your preferred asset classes, your favored stocks, your risk profile. And also they should be capable of giving you personalized tips based on the information and the circumstances you are in. Ideally, a stockbroker has to work with your goals in mind. And also you need to see whether, if you are already dealing through a stockbroking company, whether your broker force or compel you to buy stocks or even sell stocks for that matter. Stockbrokers are supposed to be service providers, and they are in business to make you more richer. So some stockbrokers feel that their business is only to buy and sell stocks of their clients. So for them, money making is just incidental. So whatever stockbroker says to you, always remember that you are the client of that stockbroking company. So it is your money and you make the final decision, not the stockbroker. So if you feel uncomfortable about any investment proposition that the advisor is recommending to you, tell your broker about that, and they should respect your decision.
So ultimately the decision is with the investor.
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely. So if they go ahead and go against your will, your consent, and or compel or influence you to buy shares or sell shares of his or her choice, then of course you have selected the wrong stockbroker.
You fall into a pit.
You have fallen into a pit, yes, and you will further go down in the pit if you go ahead in dealing with that broker. And another point that you need to look at when selecting a broker is you need to test your broker's knowledge.
Are there means of finding out broker's knowledge?
Yes. If you are a savvy investor, if you're an investor who is also updating about what is happening globally and locally, what the important things in the stock market, I mean, just through reading newspapers and reading or listening to news, financial news, as well as going through certain important websites like Lanka Business Online and Financial Times. So once you question him on the basic things that you are already aware of, I'm sure you can catch him and you can see whether he is updated. So if he is not updated what is happening around the market, which means he is not the suitable advisor for you to deal with.
Can a broker have a tendency for the broker to misguide an investor? How will the investor know, whether the broker is misguiding him?
Well, it is a tough question. It is unless you lose your money, most of the time you wouldn't know whether you have been misguided or not.
Right.
So the best way is for you to be equipped with the right knowledge.
Right. So that's the best response.
That's the best response.
Yes.
So through that you can easily know whether your broker is misleading you or not.
But the chances are that he can.
Chances are that he can, provided you are ill-informed, and you are not properly and sufficiently equipped with the knowledge that is required to invest in a market like ours. And also another thing you need to see and look when you are selecting a broker is the broking company you are dealing with is producing research reports, and whether they have a research unit, research department in that broking company. So what happens is some of these broking firms who have research houses, research departments within them, they publish excellent research reports, but what happens is it is exclusive for the institutional or foreign investors. So you need to make sure one thing, you can still ask them and get those exclusive research reports to you. And also please ask from the broker how frequently they produce research reports, and make sure.
Well, you have given a very good understanding instructions to prospective investors how he or she would get about looking for a good broker. I come to our final question, which is also very, very important. Can well-researched and analyzed recommendation also go wrong? It's something very important that we need to discuss.
Yes, Nihal. Now, this is again similar to how to selecting a broker, because that question also was something many of our listeners asked from us. So this was again another question many of the listeners asked from us, whether now we boast and we claim that we are doing proper research, but can those research and also professional good quality research done by broker firms, their broker firms, go wrong? Can those recommendations also go wrong? Yes, my answer to that question is definitely it can go. Certainly they can go wrong for a number of reasons. But first let me explain what is meant by an advice or recommendation going wrong. An advice goes wrong if the actual performance of a financial instrument or asset class deviate from the advice given by your investment advisor on the same. So even a well-researched and analyzed recommendation can go wrong for reasons beyond the control and the imagination of the advisor. So there are things, just let's take an ideal situation. When the research unit of a broking company offers a recommendation, they must first study thoroughly, research and analyze all key areas which affect the future financial performance of a company or of that stock. So in doing that, analysts make reasonable assumptions on these key areas such as growth in the economy and growth in the sector, the degree of competition in the industry, the market share of major players in the industry, investment plans of the company on the stock that he or she is recommending to you. So if the analyst has got these key assumptions right after doing a comprehensive research and analysis on the company and its sector, but there were certain sudden developments, unexpected developments, which the analyst could not predict or assume. For example, things such as regulatory change in the industry or major competitor action. Then, of course, the financial projections and recommendation of even the best analyst or research unit can deviate or can go for a 6. So in this sort of a situation, the broking firm, the research unit and the analysts are helpless and certainly innocent. But I need to make it clear that if the deviation of the actual financial performance and projected ones are due to the incompetency, negligence or even intentional misguidance by any of the parties above, could be the stockbroker or the research unit or the analyst who wrote the report, then all of them should be responsible for any losses incurred by the investors. But the unfortunate thing is that it is extremely hard to find and confirm whether these parties are innocent or not. So two things can happen here. One is where the research analyst financial projections are more or less accurate, but the share price of the company falls due to other reasons. It could be actual reasons or it could be fabricated reasons, which are beyond the imagination and predicting capacity of even the most talented analyst. It is also important to understand, though financial performance of a company is the most important micro factor determining the share price of a stock, there are other factors which drive the share price up or down, as we discussed in our first program, macro and micro factors. So as Sri Lanka's first independent investment research provider, we are working hard to bridge the knowledge gap between different categories of existing and potential investors in the country, so that we could achieve our noble vision of making Sri Lanka's capital market more dependable, transparent, efficient, penetrated and also social conscious.
Well, thank you very much. It's been nice talking to you, Mr. Chamikara Gunawardena, founder of Investor I Private Limited, Sri Lanka's first independent and bilingual investment research provider, creating awareness of investment options and also to disseminate investment knowledge among the general public. I believe our listeners have got some idea now as to how they can set about, looking for a good broker, steps needed to be taken when investing in the stock market, and how Investor I could help. He gave us some helpful advice, and how well-researched and analyzed recommendations can also go wrong. So thank you very much for your time and participation, Mr. Gunawardena.
Thank you, Dev.
And our thanks also go out to our coordinator, Karunathilaka Ratnayaka, and our producer, Indira Navagamur. And may I give the telephone numbers again: 0112 888 400, 0112 888 400, the number to dial during normal office hours, and this number to ring immediately after this program every other Sunday between 11 and 12 on 0777 534435. So we'll meet you again in 2 weeks from now at the same time, when Vantage Point will be on the air again. This is Nihal Bharati, thanking you for your company and wishing you a pleasant weekend.
Welcome to a brand new series, Vantage Point, first of its kind investment talk show in Sri Lanka.
Every other Sunday on Radio Sri Lanka from 10 to 11 a.m.
A review of global and local economic situation, capital markets and selected stocks.
Speaker Chamikara Gunawardena, founder Investor I Private Limited.
Sponsored by Investor I Private Limited. If you are looking for investing through research, don't miss your Vantage Point.
Every other Sunday on Radio Sri Lanka from 10 to 11 a.m.
Right here on Radio Sri Lanka.